Hey, what's up, guys? Today in this YouTube video, we're going to talk about how to master your budgeting so that you can save up enough money for a down payment on your first real estate rental. So a couple ways, there's two basic ways you can do this: increase income or decrease expenses. So pretty basic, right? In terms of increasing income, there's several ways we can do this. We can try to get a raise at your job. You can work overtime at your job or work two jobs. Personally, this is the strategy that I used. I actually worked quite a bit of overtime. I would work like 14-hour days when they would, allow that at my pharmacy job, and I also worked for two um, pharmacy companies out there. And so sometimes, like during the week, I would be working 6 or 7 days a week and putting in long hours. And so that way, I was able to save up this money and basically use that to purchase my first property. And some of that money I also was able to put toward the second property. So yeah, one of the best ways you can do this is working two jobs or working overtime. I know it's not pretty and it's not necessarily fun, but if it's what it takes to get you started in real estate, I highly recommend doing it. You could always work for Uber or Lyft. Those are easy side jobs or side hustles you can do. And so that's like how one of the main ways you can increase your income. Another way to increase income is investing. So a great way to invest your money if you don't want to learn a new skill, you can just put it into a mutual fund. There's several mutual funds out there, such as Edward Jones, Charles Schwab, Vanguard. Those are all great options. So just make an appointment. The first step is making an appointment with one of their financial advisors, and then you can tell them your current risk and debt obligations and your current income, and then they can kind of come up with a good plan for you in terms of investing in mutual funds. So mutual funds is kind of like a maybe at least 2 3 year plan because it does take some time for them to grow, and the stock market historically speaking has increased, like the S&P 500 increases by about 7% average returns per year. So you have to keep that in mind. It's kind of a longer term game, but it is better than just leaving it in the bank where it doesn't make any interest or it doesn't make any gains, basically. Another great thing you can do if you're a real estate investor, I highly recommend doing this, is actually, and it's kind of countercultural. A lot of people recommend putting as much as you can into your 401k or maxing your 401k. I actually recommend the opposite because real estate is capital intensive. You need a lot of money or a good amount of money to get started, right? Because of that, it actually will help you out more if you put less toward that 401k so you can invest in an asset now rather than worrying about your retirement money, which you can't take out until you're 59 and a half without having a penalty. So the idea behind this is, as a real estate investor, you're actually increasing your income throughout the years. So when you hit 59 and a half, supposedly you'll be having a portfolio with maybe six figures coming in. That means you're actually going to be taxed at a higher rate when you take out money from the 401k because you have that passive income coming in versus a normal person who doesn't invest in real estate. Most times when they hit that 59 and a half year mark and they retire, their income goes to zero. So they're taxed at a much lower bracket, and therefore it makes sense for them to put into 401k to defer their taxes. A real estate investor is the opposite. You rather get taxed now because you'll be taxed at a lower tax bracket than you would be in the future if you were to be making more passive income in the future. So hopefully that makes sense for you guys. So those are the strategies I would use to increase my income. The second step is focusing on reducing your expenses, of course. So one great thing you can do right away is don't eat out as much. Start learning how to cook home cooked meals, and eat those instead of going out and eating like fancy sushi all the time, or that wagyu or the El Toro tuna, right? So that's an easy way you can just cut your expenses right away. Another lifestyle type thing is, like, when I got out of college, I actually stayed at home with my parents when I was working. so that I could save a lot of money on rent. And so from that rent saved, I was able to save enough for a down payment on that first house. And so I know it's like a lot of people are like, what? You live with your parents, right? But you have to get over that stigma because you're making a short term sacrifice for a stronger financial foundation in the future, right? So honestly, if you have a good relationship with your family, or if you could develop that relationship with a good relationship with your family, I highly recommend actually living with your parents or living, maybe even couch surfing for a year or two while you save up for that down payment. The third thing I recommend is uh, buying a used car. So a lot of people, they'll get their job, they'll see all this money coming in, and they're like, oh, it's time for a new car, right? So they'll buy a $20,000, $30,000 car out there, right? And it's a brand new car, and then they're stuck paying a car payment every month, which definitely hurts your ability to get your lending ability. I mean, sorry, your ability to get a mortgage because that's considered a liability on your balance sheet. So buying a used car, I mean, you could get a used Lexus for under $20,000 pretty easily. Just go online, do your research, right? But don't buy that brand new fancy sports car. I would just go for a used car, or you could use your current car, the car you've been using since high school. That's what I've been using still. So the fourth point is live like a college student. So this is important. You still want to, even when you graduate and you start working, you don't want to be overspending on trips, fancy trips or concerts or like luxury items or like a luxury purse or something like that because that's a lot of money that could be used toward that first step in getting you to become a successful real estate investor. And so you really have to keep the end goal in mind. And a lot of this is a little bit about sacrifice, but you have to keep in mind why you're doing it, right? To become a real estate investor, a successful real estate investor that will eventually allow you to achieve financial freedom, live life on your own terms and be able to travel more, be able to basically support who you want to, maybe your family, your children, right? And maybe even pass on the real estate to your children as assets, right? When you when you pass away, right? So really keep the end goal in mind for all this. When I go through these points. Another way you can reduce your expenses is to invest in a kind of a lower cost gym membership. So I would say anything $20 or less a month is actually a pretty good price for a gym membership. Anything above that, like I've seen memberships that charge $100 a month. I wouldn't go for those. It's not worth it. And it actually does save a significant amount. $100 a month, right, times 12 months, that's $1,200. That's quite a bit of money that could be used toward a down payment or closing costs, right? And that's every single year, too. Um, the last point I want to mention is it's kind of going along with the lines of, live with your parents to save money on rent or live with a friend. Um, the last point is do not purchase a live-in home unless you're house hacking. Unless you're house hacking where you rent one room or you basically buy the house, you stay in one room and then you rent out to others, that would work. But if you are to live in the whole house just by yourself and none of the other rooms are rented out, then I would not recommend that because that makes it a lot harder for you to purchase a rental property because you're paying, a couple $1,000s a month toward the mortgage. And so how are you going to save enough money to buy that first rental that, is your dream goal, right? So yeah, that's pretty much it. This type of saving and budgeting, remember, it's only in the short term. It's until you get that first rental. Because once you get that first rental, you really start seeing the power of real estate. And then it kind of is this snowball effect where you really can create profit and reduce your expenses and grow your real estate business. And you will eventually be at this point, or maybe like it won't even be that long. It'd be maybe 2 or 3 years down the line, you're able to do all the things you wanted to do, right? Maybe work less hours, you're able to travel more, you're able to, help out your family or donate to more charities that you feel you want to, help out, right? So all those things, you have to put into perspective, right? This is a maybe 1 or 2 years worth of budgeting to make sure you come into a really great financial position in the future. So that's it. That's what I have for you guys in terms of budgeting and how to, really master that skill. If you guys have any questions or comments, please leave in the comment section below. And please like and subscribe to my YouTube channel. And you guys have a good day.